All right, let's talk about Go. You might also know it as Golang. This is a language built by Google, but not just for the sake of it. Nope. It was created to tackle some really specific, really modern problems. So let's dive right in and figure out what makes it tick. So you gotta ask, right? I mean, the world is swimming in programming languages. Why on earth would Google's best and brightest decide to build a whole new one from scratch? Well, that's the big question, and the answer? It all comes down to scale, speed, and some major frustrations that come with building for today's internet. So where does the story of Go even begin? Well, it starts with a massive problem. We're talking about the kinds of problems you only get when you're Google, dealing with codebases that are just astronomically huge. Their existing tools were starting to buckle under the strain. Okay, so what were these frustrations exactly? Picture this. You're an engineer at Google around 2007. Your code takes forever to compile. Managing all the different pieces your code depends on is a total nightmare. And trying to get your software to do multiple things at once, what we call concurrency, is like walking through a minefield of bugs. This wasn't a hypothetical problem. This was their everyday life. So Google's answer wasn't just another language with some new syntax. No, Go was a whole new philosophy, a totally different way of thinking about how to build software. It was all about being pragmatic, keeping things simple, and designing for the world we actually live in, a world of networks and multi-core processors. This line right here, this is everything. It's the core idea behind Go's approach to doing many things at once. Think of it like this. Instead of having multiple workers all trying to write on the same whiteboard at the same time, which is just chaos, right? Go says, hey, how about you workers just pass notes to each other instead? It's way safer, way clearer, and just a much saner way to handle complexity. And this whole philosophy rests on a few key pillars. First, simplicity and readability. I mean, the language only has 25 keywords. That's on purpose. Then there's a relentless focus on efficiency and performance, from the moment you write the code to the moment it runs. And finally, reliability. Go gives you a solid set of tools right from the get-go. Okay, so all that philosophy leads us to Go's first and maybe its most famous superpower. Remember that concurrency problem, that messy, bug-filled nightmare? Well, Go's solution was to take that, one of the hardest things in programming, and make it feel, well, almost easy. The magic starts with something called a Go routine. The best way to think about it is like a super, super lightweight worker. Traditional programming uses what are called threads, and they're kind of heavy and slow to get going. Go routines, on the other hand, are managed by Go itself, not the operating system, so they're incredibly cheap and fast to spin up. We're talking just a tiny bit of memory to start. And if Go routines are the workers, then channels are how they talk to each other. It's like a perfectly safe conveyor belt between them. One worker puts a piece of data on the belt, and another one picks it up. The brilliant part is that this whole process is synchronized automatically. This is a game changer for avoiding nasty bugs where two workers try to grab the same thing at once. And this chart really drives the point home. Look at the difference. With old school threads, you might be able to juggle a few hundred before things get slow. With Go routines, you can literally have millions of them running at the same time in one program. It's a completely different league of performance for doing things in parallel. And get this, this is how simple it is to start one of these super-powered workers. You just type the word Go in front of a function. That's it, one little word. It shows you that in Go, concurrency isn't some complex, bolted-on feature. It's baked right into the core of the language. All right, on to Go's second superpower, what I'd call pragmatic performance. And this isn't just about how fast does the code run, it's about speed across the entire process, from writing the code in the first place, all the way to getting it out the door. So what's the secret sauce here? Well, a few things. First, Go compiles straight to machine code. No middleman, no virtual machine slowing things down. Second, it bundles everything into one single file. One. That makes deployment an absolute dream. And on top of that, you've got a super efficient garbage collector and a compiler that is legendarily fast. All of it just keeps you moving quickly. And then there's this feature, oh man, developers love this, cross-compilation. It means I can be sitting on my Mac and with one simple command, create a program that's ready to run on a Linux server. No extra steps, no fuss. You just get one file. You can see why this is so huge for things like Docker containers, right? It just simplifies everything. So we've seen the why and the how, but what about the now? Where is Go today? Let's take a quick look at the ecosystem that's sprung up around it. Yeah, the numbers really do speak for themselves. 2.2 million professional developers are expected to be using Go as their main language by 2025. Just think about that. That's double what it was just a few years back. This isn't some niche language. It's on a serious upward trend. And if you're building stuff for the web with Go, there's a good chance you're using Jin. It's the clear favorite used by almost half of Go devs, mostly because it's super fast and doesn't get in your way. But what's really interesting about the Go community is that a ton of people don't even use a framework. They just use the tools built right into the language's standard library. It's that good. And the ecosystem goes way beyond the web. You've got amazing libraries for building command line tools, talking to databases, you name it. But here's the real kicker. Go is the language that's literally building the cloud. You know those little things called Docker and Kubernetes? The absolute foundation of modern infrastructure? Yeah, they're built with Go. That's how critical it is. Okay, but let's be real. No language is perfect, and Go's laser focus on simplicity has a flip side. It comes with trade-offs, and probably the biggest, most debated trade-off of all is how Go handles errors. So here's what the debate is about. On the left is the standard Go way. Every time you call a function that might fail, you have to write this little chunk of code to check for an error. If error is not nil, you see it everywhere. It's very clear, but man, it can feel like you're typing the same thing over and over. On the right is an idea that's been floated, a try keyword that would do all that checking for you, making the code much shorter. And this quote really nails the dilemma. Sure, the current way means more typing, but it works. It works really well. It forces you, the developer, to think about every single thing that could go wrong. The argument is that this clarity, even if it's a bit wordy, leads to much more reliable software in the long run. And so far, that argument has won out. So when you put it all together, the history, the superpowers, the debates, what is Go really? What's its identity? I think it boils down to three things. First, it's a tool, not a toy. It was built to solve gnarly, real-world problems at Google, not to test out some computer science theory. Second, it's opinionated. It has a strong point of view on how code should be written, which leads to code that's super consistent and easy for anyone on a team to read. And third, and most importantly, it is the language of the cloud. It was tailor-made for the kind of distributed systems that run basically everything today. And that leaves us with one big final question to think about. Go's whole identity is built on this bet that simplicity is the best weapon against complexity. But as the cloud gets even more complex, is that simple philosophy going to be its greatest strength or its biggest weakness? Will it keep developers sane and productive, or will it hold them back from solving the next big problem? The answer to that is really going to shape the future of Go.